I was one of the lucky ones in life that there was really no thoughts about what I would do or wouldn't do. It was always something I was going to do was be designing buildings. What drives me? Look, I think it's that sense of exploration and always looking for something and looking for the right answer. And I think in architecture, I don't know if you ever do find that, or maybe that's the day you retire from practice, but it's always knowing that whatever design you do, that you can do it better. The philosophy behind this sort of my approach to architecture design, I think, has varied over time. I think as you get a bit wiser, you gain a bit more experience, things change. And I think as a youngster, you're very caught up in form, materials, and those sorts of elements. As you become older, you become a lot more aware of the responses and how people respond to buildings, how light, shadow, warmth, texture, colour, materiality, and just sense of enclosure really affect you. And it's the same whether you're walking down the street or sitting in a living room or being in a hospital. So I think really that search is to find the right responses emotively for people in those environments. And that's where the real challenge and the interest is. And probably part of the art form is as well, because you're now sculpting space more than just defining it in terms of materiality, construction. All those become just part of your palette and part of your tools in your toolbox. Designing and where to start, that's always an interesting question. But I think it really comes down to what is the use of that space and how it's going to be used. I find, luckily, that as soon as you start thinking and envisaging that palette of materials or that colour, whatever, is part of that discussion in your mind and in your hand with the pen. So the two aren't separate. I feel that if you ever get to a process when you suddenly have to think, now what colour should that be? Or what material that should be, something's gone wrong with the step. The part I probably enjoy the most is actually the detail design, the working out the nuts and bolts. Again, I'm quite known for drawing the chain links or drawing the thread on the bolt of a detail, or giving the building a 1-to-1 detail or a 2-to-1 detail, just because I've worked it out and quite enjoyed that. So I find that therapeutic, being able to take that time, sit behind the computer or the pen and just really nut out that detail and make it the most beautiful detail you can. We talk about buildings being designed from the minute that you pick up that pen right through to the moment the building's handed over to the client, and it's like you're giving the building up at the end. So the design process doesn't stop. So people will quite often say, what is the most enjoyable component? Personally, the handover I find very hard, because that's when I see the things that I could have done better or thought a bit more about. Timber, I suppose I grew up with, and I always had an interest in timber. Growing up in northwest Tasmania, it was more of a cottage industry of building, so breaking into building sites on the weekend to learn and look at elements. My father was a tradesperson as well, so did a lot of time walking around building sites. The growth of timber into an engineered building product palette has been fantastic. We've been on this journey now for about 8 or 9 years, from some very early studying and trips overseas, just trying to understand how you can use engineered timber products. We're going to see more and more timber being used in large-scale commercial, residential, private homes. It's just a logical outcome. There's a lot of talk about how buildings relate to people and how they can affect people's health. More than just their experiences, and I think that's bringing in elements we now hear in catchphrases of biophilic design, using natural materials. To us, it's just logical. It's where did the human people start? They didn't live in these built structures, they lived in nature. Where do we feel the most comfortable? It's when we're wrapped, when we're enclosed, when we're warm. We're aware that we love being near timber. We went through the phases, everything had to be painted white and done with black aluminium. I think now people are quite happy to let their buildings age and develop a character. A few scratches and bumps, like a beautiful antique table, add a quality, they don't remove a quality. I think the days of take your shoes off at the door so you don't scratch our polyurethane floorboards is finished. It's now walk on our rough sawn timber floors, aren't they lovely? See the character. I don't know if there is an ideal project. I think it's that next challenge, and that's what we're always looking for, is there's something that you want to get up in the morning and think about. You go to bed thinking about it. That's a lot of the times building is solving problems of habitation, problems of enclosure, commercial problems, health problems, whatever. And that's the challenge. And when you're getting the answer to that, that's when you feel good.